Hey everyone, El Cadejo here, and I just wanted to kind of like look over what's going on in the market and all of the everything. And first, we can start out by looking at this range that we're in with Bitcoin, and that's pretty much what we're doing, is just ranging. One of the things I really like to do though is I like to actually like flip this thing upside down and look at it this way because then it's just like, oh yeah, we're just in accumulation here. We're going up and down and up. And it's just like this is a possible area where you see like a spring down here, or you see like just another quick little breakout to the upside with like back test, which would, when we flip it back the other way, would be a back test around this area. And so, like, what I'm seeing here, let's invert that back, would be here. Like, we get one more final flush out right here, just because retail thinks that all of the dip is in, and then all of a sudden we get this, like, final flush to the downside with a narrative. And I thought it might be a little bit entertaining to actually talk about the narrative. Recently, I noticed that there was this article in somewhere. It says FBI says Chinese hackers preparing to attack U.S. infrastructure, and I thought that was pretty interesting because China gives us this 28 here, and I've been following this like 28 code for a while, and it's also I think linked to an 88. But it seems possible that they're going to use this chaos as an opportunity to attack the banking system, quote unquote attack. Then they'll use the attack as a scapegoat for emergency crypto banking legislation via the adoption of post quantum technologies. I really want to try to like stay away from predictions on this channel, but it's just a lot of what I see is kind of revolving around those things. And what we have here today trending is Ukraine in the top, and it's just like there's the war, World War III was trending the other day, and so it's pretty fair to say that the war becomes center stage by the end of April, which I tweeted this out right after. Yeah, it was February 16th, right after they had posted this up, this really creepy picture of Biden posted by Biden, the actual president. Like I really can't even figure this out, but that's what happened. Now, so real quick, way back in October, right after that eclipse, there was a tweet that I put out that says I see an escalation, a shakeout, and a bull market, and that was like really pretty much right after just that like really grindy area in the market that was right down in this area was where that was. So what we've seen is an escalation. We have seen probably numerous shakeouts and a bull market. And so what I wanted to really talk about was like I'm seeing these numbers form. And so back in November, I was thinking like there was an event. It was, so this was after the war had actually started, but that it accelerated between the eclipses. And then as far back as November 25th, I had said January 10th. And like this date, I was thinking something would happen, and I didn't know exactly what it was, but that was the exact midpoint of the last two eclipses. We had the April 8th one and then the October 14th one, and so 88 days from either side gave you January 10th through January 11th. And so I've brought up January 10th multiple times as a significant date for an event on the world stage. And so by this time, right like about 2 weeks before January 10th and 11th, let's see what this was, December 19th, we started seeing like these things in the media. Like Mike Novogratz anticipates a spot Bitcoin ETF approval by January 10th. And that's when I just kind of knew. I was like, that's when the Bitcoin ETF is going to get approved because I was already calling the date out, several months ahead. And so, sure enough, that is indeed what happened. And the way that I found it out was just by plotting that date in between the middle of the eclipses. And funny enough, we've seen this before, and it was the same exact thing that happened during the last set of Great American Eclipses with the XRP lawsuit. Like, there was the one that came from the northwest of the country, and then the other one that came from the other direction, and they intersected in time exactly when the SEC sued Ripple. It was the exact midpoint between those two eclipses. Like this one happened here, this one happened here. And so it was only logical to me that something like possibly crypto related was going to happen like in the middle there. And so then, sure enough, on January 10th, Bitcoin ETF was approved. January 11th, the U.S. and British Air Force launched an airstrike on Yemen. So the war escalates. And so a lot of the 28 code that I was talking about earlier kind of loops back around to all of these other things that are going on. We have like the Federal Reserve is at 82, which as above, so below, switch the numbers around, and you have a 28 there. Same thing goes for finance. We have a 28. And Israel, we have a 28. Like I said, we just had China. China has a 28. And even furthermore, the Fed had a funding program that was launched back in March called the Bank Term Funding Program. So I wrote here, from a logistical point of view, there will not be a financial crisis immediately after funding is pulled, which I believe the funding was pulled on March 11th, giving us 28 days until the April 8th eclipse. It'll take a little bit of time for stress to develop in the system, and then it could snap potentially overnight. This is part of why 28 days after BTFP ends a crucial to understanding the whole picture. And so, in this period of time, we've seen just like tons of articles about cyber attacks during Israel Hamas war, and you won't believe it, but cyber brings up an 82 and a 28. Yeah, so I listed a few more of these connections somewhere. Oh, yeah, down here. Have cyber attack for 28, or just cyber also 28. And so I'm just seeing like this endless like 28. And it's odd because it's also an election year in the US. And we have Trump, he gives us this 88 and 24 for this year, 2024. And back when he was on the campaign, it says text Trump to 88022. And so Trump is like tied in around these 88s, which is particularly interesting because there's the 88 days that marks the midpoint between the eclipses, as well as when you're looking at the sun throughout the year at the same place at the same time, it appears to form an 8 in the sky. And so there's all of these like eights that are interconnected with Trump and the eclipses that make them like his eclipses. Hence the names Great American Eclipses. Now, so using all of that we just talked about, plus like this new little bit with like, oh, China might attack the U.S. infrastructure, and just how it seems like the story is just like not quite over. It's like, well, maybe what happens here is we get that little push down here because that kind of provides a confluence between the narrative that they're trying to tell as well as what the chart might be trying to say. And, when we flip that upside down, you can see it's just like, oh, yeah, well, it's definitely possible for this to push up a little bit more, or, in other words, down. And so if you put like a circle here of like where we could possibly go, and then you zoom out, you can see like really the area that we're talking about is like really insignificant. It's not like going to throw this whole thing out of whack. Like, see if I can draw like a parabolic curve here. It's just like it's really horrible, but that's kind of the idea. Is like we're really not like doing anything like crazy in this move. I feel like retail has used up a lot of their dip money already, so like if the market goes a little bit further than they expect with a little scary narrative, and it kind of makes sense. And like I was saying, I just don't think that the narrative is completely ran out yet. Like there's probably something more. And with all of the 28s that I've seen, I would think that maybe April 28th could be a day of some kind of significance. When you look at war on Google Trends, what we see is like this last current little bit has actually given us a breakout. People are talking about war more than they have ever since it looks like when the war started. Yeah, this last eclipse here in October. Um, we haven't had a breakout past that moment right there yet, but people are starting to talk about it. So now that they have our attention, well, we'll see what happens. I know one thing that I see going on right now, which also fits in with this, is the Bitcoin halving. and like you can just like search it up and you can see there's a lot of people talking about it. I've seen videos of people partying and things like that, and in some contexts it makes sense that the market maker is just going to use that to flush the market out just a little bit more. And like when we're all zoomed in here, it's like, it seems like a lot, but it's really not. And one more good dip there is going to probably scare everybody, but that doesn't need to happen. At the same time, it looks like we're pretty much just about ready to take off. And so, like I said in the last video, like I think all of these entry points right now on altcoins especially are just all generational. I don't know what everybody holds here, but A0 is just like slammed at the bottom. Um, Alliance Block or Nexera is like it's definitely like correcting. Maybe it's on its way to doing something like Space here, but Space is definitely like way down. Casper is definitely way down. So like yeah, Ander like way down. Like all of these things are like all like really amazing, great entry points. So ultimately, I just wouldn't overthink it. I wouldn't overthink any of this. In fact, I've actually been having a little bit of fun. The other day, I decided to come up with a index fund for meme coins on Solana, which definitely not financial advice. Probably the stupidest thing I've ever done, but it's been really entertaining. The portfolio overall is up 20% since I bought in this dip, and it's actually outperforming a lot of my serious holds. So these are a look at some of the coins that are in there. We have Harambe that's killing it right now. Cheems, he's up there. We got Ape with Hat and Horan, Popcat, Contract Address, Bowden, then Bonk with Hat, Bohm, Bork, and Tremp. There's another one or two, but it like cut it off. And anyway, it's been pretty entertaining to watch this. So you can tell we're definitely like still in some like bullish energy because these are the kind of things that we do, and they're all great and fun until they don't work out. And I just feel like we still have a little bit of time, so I'm gonna have some fun. And if you can do it without getting yourself wrecked, then that's a great idea. I just think meme coins are really funny, and I know a lot of people in this space like really hate them, and for some reason I don't. I don't hate meme coins at all. It's like it's obviously stupid. You're gambling 100%, but it's like I accept that. I accept that. It's just like I am an investor first, and I have like very, very little of my portfolio inside of meme coins. It's just something that sounds kind of fun to pass the time. And it's like I'm not like really looking at these like day to day. Like I honestly didn't even look at the chart when I bought it. I was just like, yeah, market feels pretty depressed right now. Boom. And I just bought them all at the same time. And so we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens with the meme coins, and we'll see what happens on the world stage. I just thought I would get another video out so that people wouldn't forget that I exist. But that's it for now. So I'll see y'all in the next one.